So when you're building a RAG based chatbot, one of the challenges is to make sure that you're getting back an accurate, non-hallucinating, non-imagined reply, particularly when the documents are important in terms of maybe referencing specific topics or specific areas. Maybe it's a legal document, or maybe it's a particular piece of advice, or even meeting notes and things like that. Quite often, the process that happens is that a question gets asked of the vector database. You get back chunks of information from the vectors, and then the LLM takes those chunks and makes a reply. The challenge that I found in NAN is that you might ask a nice long comprehensive chat request. The agent then interprets that into often quite very simple phrases to then ask the vector database. And so what was happening was that the phrases were kind of maybe 2 or 3 lines at most, and therefore the vectors that were returned weren't always very good or very accurate. So in the end, I came up with this idea. This is where I've basically said, okay, if you want to ask a question of the database, call the sub-agents, and then in the sub-agent, it then takes that information and then it kind of enriches it a little bit more before it goes to the database. So I'm taking away some of the automation, in fact, but to make it more, to make the replies that come back, to make those chunks that come back more relevant and more robust. So this is the basic thing here that has a few different sub workflows that it can do. But if you look at like this one, for example, this has got documents that have a quite structured format, and they talk about a topic, and there's a kind of it's about modifications of different things, and each modification has like a number. And so the problem we were having was like if you asked about that number, it would just kind of like hope for the best, because a number is quite a difficult thing to find in a document. So what I ended up doing is adding metadata to the upsert, but then it still didn't really work. So what I did is I created this sub workflow, and let me show you. And this might feel a little bit weird if you've done this before, or a bit over the top, but it does actually work very well. So on the left here, you can see that the very short request from the LLM will come in. So tell me information about this thing. And then what I'm doing here with this agent is enriching that, and I'm creating variations of what that request would be. So this is the actual request going to the vector database here. And so what I'm doing is I've got this agent here, which is a very simple agent. I think it's just a mini that just takes that input and then creates actually a range of different ones in a structured output parser, and that passes into here. And I've got like a couple of if statements going on, because depending on what metadata this thing comes up with, it then funnels the requests to each of these things in parallel. Hopefully this makes sense. So yeah, so we've got, like, if it's got a modification number, it will go here, and then you can see that the modification number is there, and it will pull the modification number from the output parser, which has come from the last step, and then that goes in, and it will search the it will take the prompt which this LLM has enriched. It will take that prompt, put that into the vector database along with the metadata filtering, and then come back with some replies. What it will also do in parallel are these other steps here. So looking at, if it's got if it hasn't got a date, it would go to this one. If it doesn't have like anything really, it will go to this one, and then it will passes all through all of these filters. And then I've merged those all together and aggregated them into one block, and then I pass that whole lot back to the agent here to kind of make sense of, and then to reply. and I found that does work exceptionally well. The problem with it that I'm finding now is that not all the documents are structured in the same way. So what I'm trying to do is take this concept and generalize it a bit more. But anyway, I hope it helps you maybe think through maybe a different way of structuring a RAG system to try and really dive into or to retrieve chunks that are going to give you the most accuracy, least hallucinations, and best quality results. I mean, even including it doesn't have the information, which is still better than making something up. Okay, hope that helps. Bye for now.